Well, first of all, I have to say it's a real privilege and a great honour to be asked to come to have this award, and it's deeply appreciated, and it's obviously for the films that are made by a lot of people. So in a way, it's not just for me; it's for all of us who have worked on the films. Jimmy's Hall is well, it was a good film to do, but it's quite hard work, you know. And there comes a point when the spirit is willing and the flesh is maybe not so capable. So I don't know, but we'll have to see. But I think it does need a kind of physical stamina that you tend to lose, you know, when you get into the wrong end of the 70s. But we'll see. It's such an extraordinary medium to be able to work in that it's not a privilege that you give up lightly. And also the ongoing friendships, you know, are not something that I would want to end. So I'm sure we'll find something to do. And now, 20 years after this film was made, we have things like 0 hours contracts, where people, often young people, will be offered a job, but the job doesn't guarantee you any work. You are guaranteed a 0 hours contract, but you can't go and work for someone else without the employer agrees, but he makes no commitment to give you any work and no commitment to give you any money. And that now is part of the scene of the rate of exploitation that we've accepted. So I think we're worse off now than we were. Well, it's as you say, it is a group. It's a collective activity, and there's a big conversation between everybody all the time. Rebecca and I exchange thoughts on a daily basis. Paul lives in Madrid or in Scotland at the moment, so we exchange messages and football scores and gossip and, well, not so much gossip, really. And then out of that will come ideas, and out of that will come a story. And then Paul will write down a series of characters, and we'll discuss that. And then Paul will do a first draft, and we'll knock that backwards and forwards, and so on until there's a script that we think will describe a situation and put on the screen characters that you will want to know, and reveal a conflict or a contradiction which has to be unravelled, and out of that will be an illumination on a whole part of society or a whole experience. So it's a long process, really, and entirely collaborative. And the collaboration doesn't stop when we have a script to shoot from, because Paul and Rebecca will be there when we're casting, when we're shooting, sometimes in the cutting room, because all the time you want to be certain that you're pursuing the same idea that we began with. And filming is clearly it's a curious process, because you start very wide when you're thinking what is the subject for the film. It's very broad. You start very wide, and then it gets narrower as you refine the script, and then it expands again when you start casting, because you have to find people who will correspond to those characters. And then it narrows again when you have the cast and you have the location. And then it expands again when you shoot, because suddenly you try all kinds of other possibilities, and the location, the day, the weather, the interaction of the people, the difficulties of shooting on location, all these things kind of scatter the process again, and then again it contracts and breathes in as you edit it and cut it down and cut it down. So in that process, it's very easy to lose sight of the central core idea. So that's why it's important that it's a group activity, because as one person, it's so easy to be distracted by possibilities that are slightly outside the original scope. So that's it. It's like breathing. It's in and out and in and out, and till you refine it down to as tight as you can possibly make it. There is a future for a united Europe, but it has to be a very different united Europe. It has to be based on common ownership, I think, on an equality between all the countries, so that we don't force people to migrate to find work. And then when they've migrated, we then create a breeding ground for racism, because of course people feel undermined and threatened when a lot of people come in and find that they're being employed in very, very low wages. I mean, we're creating the breeding ground for the far right. And it's the policies of neoliberalism forcing privatization down to people's throats which is causing it. And I think that the future for Europe, we have to be a united Europe. We should be a united Europe, but one based on cooperation, not competition. And that's the only way I see it. So we didn't tell Steve that Eric was going to be in the film. He knew he was involved in some way, but we didn't tell him he was going to be in the film. So we were filming in a room, in a small room in a terraced house, and we constructed a black tent around the camera, so that and Eric Cantona hid under this black cloak, and Steve came back into the room. He was playing the scene, turning away from the camera. Eric Cantona stepped out from beneath the hiding place, and of course Steve's face when he saw him was a picture. He couldn't believe that this heroic figure was actually in the same room. Probably be a bit like meeting Angela Merkel, I don't know, but it's the same feeling of awe and respect. I don't know.